everyone, I'm Chelsea Tornetto with At Home Author, and today we're going to talk about writing conferences. Writing conferences are a great way to network, to learn about the industry, to improve your writing craft, but if you've never been to one before, they can be a little bit intimidating. What if you don't know anybody there? What if you're out of your league and you're the only unpublished author there? You might wonder, are they going to have assigned seating, or what should you wear? And if you're an introvert like me, you might be really excited about the conference itself, but it's all those unknowns that might actually prevent you from signing up and going. So today I'm going to try to alleviate all of those fears and give you a little sneak peek of your very first writing conference, all from the comfort of your couch. So in November, I attended the SCBWI Middle of the Map Conference. Now, SCBWI, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, stands for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and they put on some fabulous conferences throughout the year. There are 2 large national conferences, but then each region also will put on a conference occasionally on an annual basis. And they are all wonderful opportunities to network and meet people and learn about writing and the industry of publishing. So whether you're writing board books, picture books, all the way up to middle grade and young adult, I highly, highly recommend SCBWI if you're not sure where to start. I live in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is in the southeast corner of the state. The conference was in Kansas City, which is all the way across the other side of Missouri. So it was about a 4 to 5 hour drive, which was fine, but my husband decided to tag along and help me keep me company on the drive because he's a big history buff, and the Truman Presidential Library and Museum is located in Kansas City. So he decided to come along, and we made it a little road trip. I actually wanted to go the day before the conference because at this particular conference, they had organized a special session in the afternoon on the Friday before for authors who are published. And this is the first time that I was going to be able to take advantage of that because my book had come out in 2022, and this was the first time that I had been to a conference since then. And so I was excited to get to take advantage of the special session for published authors. So just to show that you shouldn't be nervous, I actually got to the session a little bit late. The drive took us just a tad bit longer than we thought it would, and so I got there about 10 minutes after the session had started, and it was no big deal. I just snuck in the back and sat down, and it was fine. The first session was with Rajani LaRocca, the Newbery Award-winning author of Red, White, and Whole. And she gave a wonderful inspirational talk about writing the story that only you can write. And it was virtual. She was not able to travel to join us in person, but we got to ask questions live, and it was a really great talk. We took a quick snack and bathroom break, and came back for the second half of the session, which was with author Shannon Anderson, who is a picture book author and who has done tons of school visits all over the country. She's always traveling somewhere and visiting schools. And so she talked to us about how she organizes those, how to get school visits, how she works with each district, and it was a really, really useful session. After that, the session was over. It was just like a 2-part session for published authors, and it ended at about 4:30. So my husband came and picked me up, and we decided to go out to eat, which first time without the kids in a while, so we had ice cream for dinner. Woohoo! And then we did a little Christmas shopping and headed back to the hotel because from 7 to 9 at the hotel, which typically when you attend a conference, they will have a recommended hotel where they've got a block of rooms for authors to reserve. Sometimes it's the same building where the conference is, sometimes not. In this case, the conference was at a center somewhere else, but in the evening, we had the opportunity to book one-on-one critique sessions with one of the agents or editors who were guests at the conference. And so that was at our hotel. So we headed back to the hotel because my one-on-one critique was scheduled at 7 o'clock. Now, my one-on-one was with Joanne Hill, who is an art director with Disney Hyperion, which can sound pretty scary and pretty intimidating. And honestly, yeah, it is a little bit. But what you need to keep in mind about these one-on-one critiques, first of all, most conferences will offer something like this that you can add on for an additional charge. They're very short. They're usually less than 10 minutes. You do not have to have anything special prepared other than to be prepared to talk about your book. It's a great way to practice pitching your book verbally, a short pitch. So maybe practice that a little bit, but truly don't be nervous and do not look at it as this is your one big break or one big chance, because more often than not, these are just very casual sessions and a good opportunity to get some feedback rather than to get a book deal. So I headed down to the area to sign in. My friend Amanda Flynn is one of the volunteers for our SCBWI region, and so she was there to check me in, which makes it a little less nerve-wracking when you know someone, so that was nice. And then we waited in our chairs until it was our turn to go inside. Joanne was very, very nice. It was a very quick 10 minutes. It goes by so fast. And then I was done for the evening, ready to go get some sleep. The next morning, the conference started at 8 a.m., so the husband and I hit the Starbucks, and then he dropped me off, and he headed off to explore his museum for the day. SCBWI conferences typically offer sessions that will appeal to all different authors, and then sessions that are tailored to different genres or different categories of writing. The first session of the day was a panel discussion, which I love. Panels are a great way to get the perspectives from lots of different people at once. And so in this case, we had 2 editors, 2 agents, and 1 art director who were going to be speaking at the conference. And they all sat at one table up front, typically on a stage, kind of a raised area. And they had a moderator who would then ask them questions about everything from the market and the industry, trends, to how to submit or tips for how to submit to agents and editors, even down to the specifics of their own personal wish lists. And it lasted, I don't know, maybe about an hour or so. They each have an opportunity to answer the questions and just kind of talk about it. It's very casual, but it's a great way to get lots of information in a short amount of time. After that, we moved on to what they call a breakout session. So breakout sessions are where you're able to sort of customize the information that you would like to explore. So for our conference, we had one session that was targeted towards illustrators, one that was for picture book authors, and then one that was for novelists or authors who are writing middle grade or young adult, so longer form kidlit writing. So I chose to attend the picture book session with Sandra Proudman, who is an agent at Galt and Zacher, and she did a great presentation on character-driven picture books. So she highlighted 5 or 6 specific picture books and sort of analyzed them with us live and showed us how those authors and illustrators had used the character and their strong personality to drive that story forward, and it was incredibly helpful. By then, we were all a little bit hungry and it was lunchtime. Now, lunch is probably one of the things about these conferences that makes people nervous because it is unstructured time and it's social time. And so, especially if you're an introvert like me, that can be a little bit nerve-wracking and a little bit intimidating, but there's no reason to worry about it. So at this particular conference and at several that I've been to, we did have assigned seats. What I mean by that is that they would assign you a table and you would sit wherever the tables are numbered and you go and find that table to sit at. And while that might sound kind of limiting, they do have a reason for it. So the reason that they do that is so that you can network with people who write the same thing you do. So they will arrange the seats so that picture book authors are at the same table. Middle grade writers are at the same table. And so it gives you an opportunity to network with people who are on the same path as you. Another thing that organizers will typically do is they will try to make sure that someone at the table has more experience or has been published or has had some success in the world of publishing. And that person can kind of guide the conversation, make sure that everyone is included and comfortable, and sort of lead the discussion at the table. For this particular conference, that happened to be me and another author, Amy Houts. And so we had a wonderful lunch. We met lots of new authors and people that we hadn't met before. If it's the lunch itself that you're worried about, don't be. In my experience, conference organizers are usually super good about being flexible and providing options for people. When you register, they'll typically let you choose from a variety of options for your lunch, and then it'll be ready for you the day of the conference. If you did want to bring your own lunch, you certainly could do that. I don't think anybody would mind. But the thing I wouldn't recommend doing is going out somewhere to get lunch. First of all, the lunchtime is usually fairly short so that they can get on with additional presentations. But also, it's just the best way to network. You meet so many people during that lunchtime that you wouldn't meet before. After lunch, it was time for another one of my favorite types of sessions, which is a first pages session. Sometimes they'll call it first glance or first look. And so this is another panel situation where all of the agents and editors will be up at that front table. A moderator will read the first page of a manuscript out loud, and they'll react to it. They'll give their, pros and cons and sort of do a quick little analysis of what their reaction is to that manuscript. And it is such a great way to get a little sneak peek into how their minds think and what they're looking for as they're acquiring manuscripts. For these first pages sessions, typically, conference participants are invited to submit for these. A lot of the times it'll be way before the conference itself, so do be aware of that and maybe watch out for how to register for something like that. All of the entries are read anonymously, so the name of the author is never given. It's all just cold reads in front of the audience, and so it's really, really informative. Then it was time for the afternoon breakout session. Again, I chose the picture book route, but just keep in mind if you write more than one type of book, like if you write picture books, but you also write middle grade, you can totally mix it up and go to picture books in the morning and middle grade in the afternoon, or any combination that works for you. So the afternoon breakout session for me was led by illustrator Daniel Miaras, and he talked about how pictures and words interplay on the page to make a beautiful picture book. Daniel is an illustrator, and so what was really cool about this session was that we got to see some of his original artwork. After that, it was back to the main conference center for the keynote speaker, which was author Lisa Harkrader. And she gave a wonderful inspirational talk that was about overcoming your fears as a writer. She talked about imposter syndrome and putting yourself out there and fear of failure and all of the things that sort of mentally sometimes can be a stumbling block for authors. It was definitely a feel-good session and a great way to end the conference. After that, the conference officially was over, but our conference organizers had done something that sort of allowed people to mingle and hang out afterwards, which was called Show and Sell. So Show and Sell was just sort of a little corner that they had set up with some displays, and if you were a published author, you could submit one book and it would be on display with a QR code that was customized to match it. And people could browse the books, and then if they wanted to purchase one, they could scan the QR code and purchase it online. So I spent a little bit of time after the end of the conference just sort of looking at books and talking to other author friends and having a good time. And by the time I was done, my husband was waiting in the parking lot for me. It was about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, so full day conference, and we were ready to head home. So if you've been thinking about attending your first writing conference, I hope this sneak peek sort of alleviated some fears and maybe gave you the confidence and the courage to go ahead and jump in and give it a try. Even for the most introverted among us, there's really nothing like hanging out for a whole day with people who are your people, who have the same goals as you, who are on the same path, who are interested in the same things. And a conference is such a great opportunity to do that. Speaking of hanging out with people who are on the same path as you, At Home Author offers a wonderful community of picture book writers in our Profitable Picture Books membership. So if you're looking for that community and maybe not ready to go to a conference just yet, come and join us and get started on your picture book journey. I hope this video was helpful. Make sure to like and subscribe for more great information about publishing picture books.